Whoa, no, I can't do it. I can't fake it. I can't be you. Listen, folks, welcome to the Amazin But True podcast. I'm Nelson Figueroa alongside my co-host. And if you're wondering why you haven't heard from him yet, oh, don't worry. You'll be hearing from him. Jake Brown at Jake Brown Radio, at Figgy NY, at Amazin But True. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And we're hoping that they're going to play this maybe tonight or tomorrow for the Mets and see if it's a wake-up call. Jake, take it away.
I've been mostly positive, Figgy, about this team. I've said, don't worry, it's early in the season, and I don't think the season's over today. There's plenty of time. And I pointed to this date, as people listen to this, Cinco de Mayo, about all the things, guys coming back. We'll see. He'll be back around Cinco de Mayo. Justin Verlander came back on May the 4th be with you on the eve of Cinco de Mayo. They get Max Scherzer back 2 days on the eve of Cinco de Mayo. Guys are coming back. They're getting healthy. But on Cinco de Mayo, Mets fans are getting hammered. They're getting drunk to wallow away and sorrow away from a sweep at the hands of the 10-17 previously Detroit Tigers, the team that had the least runs in Major League Baseball in the Detroit Tigers. And the Mets came out here and were beat up by the Tigers, by the likes of Eric Haas,
Who?
Andy Ibanez, no relation to Raul. You want to say who? How about Akil Baddoo?
And Erica Badu's son?
How about a guy who sounds like he was in SpongeBob SquarePants, Spencer Torkelson? My mic is falling. This is a disgrace. 6 shutouts in 32 games. That leads the league tied with the 8-23 Kansas City Royals. The Mets had 8 shutouts all of last season in their 101-win season. They are now 500. They were just lifeless on Thursday, not scoring a single run, not putting a guy on base to the 9th after the 4th inning from the 5th until the 8th. No one? 9th? Oh, they got someone on. But guess what? Brandin Nimmo said, I'm going to steal the one time I should not steal. Down 2 runs with the big boppers coming up. What are you doing? The one spot you cannot run is down 2, 1 out, top of the 9th. Brandin Boneheaded Nimmo said, this is my chance to get a steal. This is my chance at glory. It wasn't. And what happened there cannot happen. Starling Marte strikes out. And, that's another story. Marte might looks hurt. I mean, Starling Marte is struggling in the field at the plate, running the bases. Marte might be hurt. That's a side point that we'll get to. Lots of wild strike 3 calls. Justin Verlander, bad first inning. He was terrible in the first inning. Gives up back-to-back homers. He recovered. He wasn't the problem on Thursday in his debut. The problem was they couldn't hit. And Figgy, I love Buck Showalter. I'm not one of the fans blaming Buck Showalter for these losses. But can you get fired up and get tossed on one of those strike 3s as my mic falls again? Can you go out there and show you have some life? Can you show that you care?
He did. He went out there. He went out there and had a conversation.
A conversation. We're not at the diner on a Sunday morning at Neptune Diner in Queens getting bacon, egg, and cheese. It's a Thursday afternoon in Detroit and a must-win game to avoid a sweep. We're not getting a cup of coffee. We're trying to win a freaking baseball game. Buck's got to get tossed in that spot. The umpiring was not great, and this is unacceptable. I'm pissed off today because you had to at least win 2 out of 3. On Thursday, you had to salvage the series and take 1. Instead, you were swept by the Tigers, not the 98 Yankees, the Detroit Tigers. You made Rodriguez look like Sandy Koufax out there. I mean, 8 just dominant shutout innings. He looked like the guy who won 19 games in 2019 for the Boston Red Sox. The Tigers should not be hitting like they did. The Mets should not be not hitting. I don't even know if that made any sense. Like they did not.
Double negative, but it works.
Quadruple negative. I'm about to play third. Put me out there. There goes the mic.
All right, Jake.
Take it away. I'm pissed off today.
No,
I need to cool down. Let me just.
Oh, good God.
Hurt myself a little bit.
Well,
take it away, Figgy.
Yeah, there's nothing that you said that was wrong, and it just looks lifeless in Detroit. right? Sleepless in Seattle, lifeless in Detroit. It's been very, very bad looking baseball. They make a comeback in that first game, and since then, 1 run in the next 2 games. Um, Up and down the lineup, just bad swings, okay with just popping up or flying out weekly. There's a lot of foul territory, sure, whatever, but these swings have to get better. Marte, to me, does look hurt. There's nothing about his game that looks like he's confident, doesn't look like he's and it was reassuring towards that end of that national series where he hit a line drive, 2 line drives in that game and then got a base hit later on towards the end of the game where they won. And you started to think, okay, Marte's coming around. He's got his timing back, But ever since he's banged that neck sliding into third base, he just doesn't look right. His routes to balls they don't look right. They don't look like a guy who's capable of playing Gold Glove defense. It doesn't look like a guy who, used to play alongside Andrew McCutchen and push McCutchen out of the way to take his job. I don't see Marte having that same quick first step. He's stepping back on balls. He's just missing balls. And that was the difference in yesterday's game, right? When that ball dropped in right there in front of him, he had a chance to get it. And Ottavino wasn't able to, keep Baez. He drills Baez and then he winds up giving up the double. That's something that you're looking at this team and you're realizing that for all the good that they do, there's a lot of faults. There's a lot of weaknesses. Striking out wasn't one of them, but not being able to score runs at all, already 6 shutouts through the first 30 some odd games, 33 games. It's not the same mentality. I don't know if that's the right thing to say. It's not the same mentality. It just doesn't like the effort is there. Like the at-bats are like, okay, it's only 1 at-bat. I'll get another one, next time. There's no urgency. There's no urgency. And like you said, it's not a must win, but it is a must win when you don't want to get swept by the lowly Detroit Tigers. You're supposed to beat those guys, especially Verlander's debut. You got to find a reason to spark the team. And whether it's him, whether it's Francisco Alvarez getting tossed, whether it's Verlander himself getting tossed, maybe Max Scherzer should have got tossed. He's used to doing that. Maybe he could have yelled out from the bench and got tossed there as well. But the Mets are having big problems scoring runs and even bigger problems with the starting pitching, giving up runs early in the game and the team having to come from behind. So it's not a recipe for success by any means.
They pitch, they can't hit. They hit, they can't pitch. And
it's like Friday, right? Ham, no burger, peanut butter, no jelly.
I like this. I need chicken parm in my life. I need something because Figgy, the other problem is Max Scherzer doesn't look himself. And that's a concern. And people want to say this, and you can argue both sides of this. You built your team around 2 essentially 40-year-old starters. One is 40. One will be 39 this year in a few months in Max Scherzer. You can say that was a recipe for disaster. But what in their past and the prior years shows you that this was going to happen? I mean, Verlander, it's too early to talk about. And, the first inning jitters, you get it. He recovered. Justin Verlander put one of the most historic seasons in the history of the sport together last year, winning 18 games and having a 1.75 ERA. That doesn't happen in Major League Baseball, especially in today's era. It just doesn't happen, Figgy. And the only other guy to win a Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, and MVP was Don Newcomb. So Verlander I think is going to be fine. But Max, another guy, you got him after a 15-4, 2.46 ERA year last year. He goes out last year, puts together a great season, mixed in with some injuries, but 2.29 ERA. It's not like you look at their age and you're like, it's going to crumble now. Because what told you it was going to crumble? Because last year they both were incredible. Mm-hmm. So there's something more to this with Max, and I want to see more outings. I want to see better weather. You saw he was frustrating once again when they were checking him after the inning. You saw he was kind of getting riled up because they're going to check him a little bit extra than they're going to check any other pitcher in the league right now. And you could see he's frustrated by that. And maybe he's having trouble gripping the ball. Maybe you could explain this better than I can, obviously, as a pitcher. But I don't know if the grip isn't there or something is there. But if these two guys can't dominate and can't be great and don't show signs of greatness, first off, they won't get to October. But if they do, they won't succeed in October if you can't trust Scherzer. You saw what he did in the playoff game against the Padres, and it's why there are some Mets fans who hate him because of that one outing. They have these guys have to be good to even get them to that spot. And right now, it's early. This doesn't look like a team that deserves to be in that spot at 16-16. This division is good. The NL is good. And the way the Mets are playing is not good enough. So something's got to give here with Scherzer. And, we want to see Verlander be dominant. This is 1 start, 5 innings. I'm not going to be mad about Verlander giving up 2 homers in the first inning, but these guys have got to be them Cy Young selves, because the rest of the rotation isn't much to write home about, and the lineup isn't producing enough outside of Brett Beatty, who seems to get a hit every time he's out there and every time he plays. I know a lot of Met fans were mad he didn't play Thursday, 2 doubleheaders in a couple-day span. The guy needs a day off. Escobar's got to start once every 2 weeks. He got to start, but Max is concerning right now.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, Max is very concerning. And one element that I think people aren't realizing, yes, when you're an old Cadillac and people know what to expect from you, you're used to running on your own time. You're used to running at your own pace. This pitch clock thing, I think, is getting to him. And I think it's getting to him in a major way. Remember down in spring training, he tinkered with it. He wanted to force the issue. It was almost like he was a basketball player thinking, let's do full court press the whole time to the hitters, right? And he had the hitters on the defensive. Remember that? But then the second game, when he tried to do that again, he had the ball called on him, the soft hit balls, the violation that was called against him. All those things, stirred out of control. We said, it's just spring training. He's messing around with the, different tempos and timing and all that stuff. It's not that you can't teach an old dog a new trick. It's when the reality of this thing was, this is real and it's in place. And now you're talking about a lot of pitchers who are feeling forced to hurry up. And it's taking a toll, not on their stuff, but on their endurance, on their demeanor. Max Scherzer maybe wants to walk around the mound a little bit and slam the rosin bag and get refocused and maybe apply more rosin. He doesn't feel like he has the time to do that now because he has to hurry up. Once you have an engagement with the rubber, you can only disengage once. And that's one of the things I think that's really starting. And he won't make that excuse. You won't hear it anywhere else, but you look at his body language, he just looks rushed. And I don't think that's ever been the feeling I had of him. I always had him controlling the tempo, him controlling, the hitter's demeanor. And it doesn't look that way so far this year. The other thing with sliders, since spring training, his slider has not been the devastating wipeout slider that we know. And it's been hit and hit hard all season long. I'm sure I could look up the numbers for you, and it's going to be batting probably well over 400 or 500 against his slider with a huge slugging percentage. So one of those things that happens is you add some more rosin, you try and grip the ball tighter, you try and make it a little bit nastier, and there's more wear and tear. There's more chances for that pitch to go out of the strike zone, bounce and become a wild pitch, and a runner moves over. And you can see this all kind of being in his head. He's stronger than that. We know he's much stronger willed than just that of the pitch clock or his first few outings or of being checked constantly. Listen, if he can't overcome that, then, maybe it's time to move on. But for him to go out there and focus on task at hand, and it as simple as him going with each batter, it's one round, a heavyweight fight. He's going to be the victor. He has to figure out a way to do that every single time to every hitter he's facing. That was the mentality of the Max Scherzer that I knew when he was with the Nationals, and you had to face him. You saw hitters not comfortable in the box. You saw hitters that were like, man, this guy's just out of his mind because he controlled the tempo. I don't see that guy right now. And when I do see it, it looks like it's forced because he's trying to get it all in within those 15, 20 seconds.
Yeah, when you do something, Figgy, for 15 years, the same. Think about this. Both of these guys have been in the league for 15 years. That is a long time. And you as a pitcher, you get in routine. The time you get to the ballpark, the time you throw the first pitch. When Max last year famously got mad because someone was out at the mound, I think it was like Korean night or something, throwing the first pitch, and he got mad. He's like, get off my mound. These guys get in a routine, and after 15 years of doing the same thing, you change it now. It takes time to adjust, but I don't want to be the guy here making excuses. I will still say it's early, and I still will say it's 32 games in, and you have 130 to go. But Max is getting $43.3 million a year. And we could say all we want about this team and all the money that Steve Cohen has and wiping his ass with $1 million bills. And he's the richest owner in sports and they'll be fine. They'll buy someone else. But you still have invested $43.3 million per season in this guy. How he is pitching, unacceptable for that amount. He has to be better.
when you have both those guys, if you had what they're making,
85 million essentially.
and it's more than the Tampa Bay Rays, the
Yep.
whole Tampa Bay Rays payroll. So they are being
and their
counted
stars
on.
flipping a baseball in the air, throwing a first base and a highlight reel. Our highlight reel is Brandin Nimmo stealing second and Gary Cohen yelling at him.
Yeah, that's one of the things. When you're winning, you can find ways to have fun, and nobody will say anything about it. But imagine he flips the ball like that and misplays it. They'll be hell to pay, and that'll be the last time you see him do that. Right now, the game of baseball is, you're looking around. The Pirates are playing really well, and Tampa Bay is playing really well. When you say really well, we're talking about exceptional. We're talking about winning 8 out of every 10 games you're playing. That is unheard of to do that for even just for a month, let alone they're into May and they don't seem like they're slowing down. Look across town, right? The Mets have spent a lot of money to try and make this team a contender, and it just doesn't work that easily, right? You don't just put money on it. You can ask Moreno over with the Anaheim Angels. You can ask the guys down in San Diego. It just doesn't work that easily. There's a lot of other factors that go into it, and that's what the whole season is about. It's about the ups and downs. How do you bounce back from this? How do you get better from this? How do you look back in August and September, September when you're pouring champagne because you clinched and made it into the playoffs, and you look back and say, man, remember how bad we were that first week of May? Man, it was bad. You have to go through these lumps, and it's okay to do that. I think I saw Nimo talk about it today, that the Braves were kind of in that position last year, and then they hit their stride and wound up winning the division. They had that ridiculous run towards the end. Not saying that that's the ideal, but it got you hot at the right time and put you in a position to make the playoffs and then try and go as far as you can in the playoffs. So I'm not panicked. I'm not worried. Health is the major factor. And these guys can't go into these long stretches of slumps, these 1 for 16, 17, 18 that you keep seeing from, each guy, it seems individually. That can happen. There's got to be ways to break out of it a little sooner, and other guys have to carry the load. And we haven't seen a complete Met lineup up top to bottom that's been able to produce runs at a steady clip as of yet. But that day is coming.
Here's my message.
It's positivity.
I'm going to look, I'll try and make this positive. Here's my message. I'm going to look in the camera. I'm going to do my infamous mic hold like I like to do when I mean something serious. Last time I saw this, Starling Marte came back after I pleaded. He saw my Instagram story and he came back for the playoffs. So you're welcome for that, even though we lost 2 out of 3.
Yeah, nice job, Jake.
This is a Mets team that won 101 baseball games last year. This is a good baseball team. This is a good roster and a team that is capable of doing it again. This has to be the wake-up call for this team. At 16-16, getting swept by the Tigers, being the laughing stock of the league right now with a roster that's a lot better than 16-16. This is the moment you wake up. This is the moment you turn it around. Right now, you have the Rockies coming to Citi Field, one of the worst teams in the league. Go sweep them. You go to Cincinnati against the terrible Reds. Go beat them. You play the Nationals, who are in last place. Go beat them. You have 3 series against bad teams. After that, the road only gets tougher, Figgy. You have 14 of 17 series against teams over 500. This is the easy part. This is where you can try and save what is happening right now. Go win. You're better than this. You have a future Hall of Fame manager. You have future Hall of Fame aces in Verlander and Scherzer. You have a solid closer in David Robertson. You have incredible bats and maybe Hall of Famers one day in Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso. You have a stud rookie at third base who's tearing the cover off the ball in Brett Beatty. You have a Gold Glove candidate in center field this year who just got $100 million, who's in over 300, Brandin Nimmo. You have a Starling Marte who can do it all in right field. The pieces are in place. You have the batting champ in Jeff McNeil. You can't look up and down this roster and not say they're good. You have to play better. I don't want to hear Buck should be fired. I don't want to hear the season's over. I don't want to hear Billy Epler put a bad team together. He could have done a lot more, and I agree. He could have got more help for this bullpen. They lost Diaz, and that has really crumbled this team. That is really a key factor that you can't overlook. Edwin Diaz out has hurt. But this team is so much better than this. And that's why we are so mad here, because we know they're better. They're not the 16-16 team. And all these people on Twitter and, Frank, of course, Frank the Tank being all negative as he usually is. And everyone's saying doom and gloom, sky is falling. Right now, yes, it sucks. But they're better than this. We saw it last year. This is almost the same exact team, minus Diaz and DeGrom, as last year. They're better than how they're playing. So go prove it. And Buck, get mad. If there's a strike 3 and your hitter gets mad and Jeff McNeil, like he did on a pitch that was not a strike, gets mad, go get tossed. You're trying to not get swept. It might not change the result, but it'll tell the guys, you know what? The manager's got our back. Let's go score a few damn runs. There's a psychological aspect to that. So Buck's got to be better. The hitting's got to be better. The bullpen's got to be better. Everyone has got to be better across the board. And Figgy, they are better. And I want to see it this weekend in Colorado. Right this ship. Sweep the damn Rockies at Citi Field.
Enough said.
All right. That felt good to get that off my chest there. Jake Brown, Nelson Figueroa, Amazin But True podcast, New York Post at Jake Brown Radio at Figgy NY at Amazin But True. Another new episode coming to you Monday morning after the series versus the Rockies. I feel better. That was like therapy session.
That's literally what it was. That's why I sat back and just, let you get it all out. Let you get it all out. And you feel better, right? You realize that it's not all doom and gloom. Look at all the rain that we've had here in New York. The weather has got you down, bro.
The allergies are killing me. I was dying today. I don't know. It's going to be a little warmer this weekend. And, on a positive note, Saturday will be a special day for me. I would go with my mom sometimes to Shea Stadium. But in the 2009, it's 14 years now at Citi Field. If you count, I guess 14. I'm trying to do the math. I guess the COVID years, whatever. In about 15 years of Citi Field being open, my mom has never been to Citi Field. And Saturday, she is coming for the first time as me and my parents go to the Mets Rockies game. They're in town with 2, I guess, friends of theirs. Mm-hmm. So we're all going. I'd rather the friends that I don't know not go, but whatever. They'll bring their friends. But my mom will be in the building, Mama Brown and Papa Brown and me on Saturday. I could show around the ballpark. Maybe show them a lobster roll or two. She doesn't drink, so I can't get her the perks of a free drink, but we'll get her a nice Diet Coke. Get her lemon, a cup with ice. She likes to have her cup with ice. See if we can find a caffeine free. When she goes non-caffeine free, that's when the party begins.
Oh yeah.
That's her alcohol is non-caffeine free Diet Coke. Maybe we'll get her a Cosmo. She'll drink a Cosmo at a wedding occasionally. That's when she has a Cosmo.
By the time you do all that, it's going to be the 8th inning.
Yeah. Bottom of the 8th here. Noel Brown is 2 Diet Cokes deep, and the game is about to end.
Seriously, what was today's time of the game?
It was about 2 hours and 2 hours 10. Hearts could check the exact time, but I think it was right around, because it started at 1:10 and we were, I was ready to go at like 3:15. I think it was just over 2 hours.
That's I get it, and it's a shutout. Obviously, that helps.
2:06, pitcher going 2 hours 6 minutes.
One pitcher going 8 innings. So it wasn't a lot of changes in between. So that's a tightly knit game where it's very efficient. And there you go, the pitch clock and all. But that wasn't the pitch clock's fault. That would have happened in the old days too with a game like that. Other than probably a manager getting tossed because a chance to argue and spark his team. But we'll see. Live and learn.
Speaking of Mama Brown, Mama Leone left a note at the door. She said, "Dom, you moving on to the Metsies. Working too hard can give you a heart attack. You ought to know by now."
It's his last year of performing at the Garden.
Is it?
No, it's been like that for like 30 years, bro.
Yeah. That's a good joke. Yeah, because every month he gets like $2 million. Hearts is always like, tickets are cheap. We should go last minute. I'm like, I've seen him 69 times at this point. I mean, I love it. I would go again if they're cheap. I go, but good signing there. The Mets needed to add a bullpen piece, and this is probably going to overlook because the team sucks right now. But with how bad the bullpen is, this is the kind of move that Billy Epler had to make. He knows he didn't do enough, and he knows he got screwed by Edwin Diaz getting her in the WBC. But the Mets signed reliever Dominic Leone, Connecticut native, opted out with the Rangers, has had a nice career, Figgy, and could be a piece that this team needs. He got $1.2 million, is prorated 1.5, 1.2, opted out of the Rangers. as Gary mentioned on the broadcast, in 2021, this guy had a 1.51 ERA in 53 innings. That's not too shabby. He had a 4 ERA last year, 3.69 for his career. He's been in the big leagues 9 years. I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard of him because he's bounced around. He's Seattle, Arizona, Toronto, St. Louis, Cleveland, the Giants, Rangers minor leagues this year where he had a 1.5 ERA. And now he's in the Mets. This middle relief has struggled. They need help. Ottavino can give people heart attack, acts. Maybe in the theme of the song, they went out and got Leone, but Leone could be a big piece here. I like this is kind of the addition you need. I talked about you can't keep getting guys off the scrap. He's not necessarily off the scrap. He's not a Jimmy Yacobonis who's been solid, and shout out to him for 3 shutout innings the other day, but that guy had like a 7 ERA. Leone's had a nice career.
Yeah, no, it's a very nice signing, and it's a guy who has a chance to come home and be a part of this team, realizing that this team really needs relievers, and he's going to get a really good opportunity to hit the ground running here. Did a nice job today. And then you look at some of the other names that have been in Met uniforms it seems like it's somebody new every day. Every time you turn on a game, it's like, who's this guy? When did he get here? And what's going on? This isn't how it was supposed to be. This isn't how it was drawn up, but they're definitely going to need some guys. Remember when I told you Brigham has been doing such a great job, and don't worry,
he gives up the homer, of course.
He's gonna get into a bigger
Who's
situation.
the mush now, biatch?
It's not the mush. I told you, look out, because once a guy gets an opportunity to do something against the middle of a lineup, and what happens? It spiraled out of control very quickly. He tried to just do too much, but that's something that he has to learn. He has to get over. Seth Lugo did that early in his career, and he had a fine career as a reliever with the Mets. Brigham, had to find out the hard way. You can't make mistakes to the bigger part of the lineup. You can't put guys on for free. You can't be missing by so much where they can eliminate one pitch and just sit on another. So it's a good guy to fill those that hole that Brigham was trying to fill as a seventh inning guy when the game is close. So it'll be good to see him out there, and hopefully he can continue pitching as well as he had been in AAA.
And Ottavino's been rocky, man. I mean, it's a sign for concern because we talked about you need Ottavino and Robertson to be good. If Ottavino's bad, you're in a whole lot of trouble. But
it's the same thing, though, Jake. With all these rainouts and double headers and stuff like that, and when you had your 2 best pitchers that didn't pitch for 6 days when the Mets were winning, it's difficult because you want to have a balance in there. You don't want to burn these guys out. It's too early, too soon. But at the same time, a guy like Ottavino wants to pitch every 3rd day. He wants to be in there every other day if he could be. If it's in a winning situation, every other day. If it's a chance to get out there, at least every 3rd day to stay sharp. He needs that kind of stuff. That's what he's built on. That's what he does in the off season. He trains, still a Brooklyn boy. He still trains in a place nearby. And in the lab, they call it, he goes out there and he continues to work on his craft. He continues to try and find ways to spin the ball a little bit better, a little bit tighter. So when he goes those long periods of time, and I think it was something like 6 or 8 days that he hadn't pitched, he wasn't as sharp. And does that mean that, the ball that hits Baez or would have changed anything? No, it doesn't. But, he didn't make an excuse for that. But that's part of the game where you have to get these guys into a rhythm. He's always kind of waiting to be in there because he may close, may not close, maybe a 7th, 8th, or 9th inning guy. It's one of those things that it's the gift and the curse when you're being counted on that way, but you're not getting the opportunities because they're not, at nearly as plentiful.
The doubleheaders are done this week. The schedule should be normal. The weather looks good in Queens. 60 Friday, 68 Saturday, 73 Sunday. It's it. You had your excuses. I get Scherzer the layover. Scherzer got to be better now. It's time. Verlander, you got your first start. You did in Detroit. It's out of the way. You got to be better. And he'll have a few road starts before he gets his first Citi Field start. Now it's go time. Starting Friday against the Rockies, it's go time. Beat up on these bad teams. We said that in Detroit. This has got to be the kick in the ass that they need. And it's time to show that you are going to compete for a division title because this is unacceptable baseball. And I don't want to see a sub 500 or team floating around 500 this season. They're better than this. So go show it. The Rockies come to town Friday. It'll be Senga versus Senzatela. Is that how you say his name? Antonio Senzatela?
I don't know. Sounds like a movie star.
Spanish Academy. Making his first start of the year. Saturday, it'll be our guy, Big Drip, Tyler McGill versus Gomber. And Sunday, it looks like Lucchesi likely will go on 3 days rest, which is why he was pulled after 4 innings.
Oh, my God. How about that?
Insanely frustrating game.
46 pitches.
Well, I think they had no one for Sunday, so I get why they did that. If he doesn't pitch Sunday, it makes no sense. I agree.
Right, but I mean, you're a guy who, again, he gave up the 2 runs in the first, or what was it, 2 or 3? He gave up in the first.
He gave up three-run homer.
Right,
Yeah.
right. He gives up the 3-run home run, and then he gives up the solo shot. But other than those 2, especially the 3-run home run, he pitched pretty well. He was starting to find himself, But then it's like, don't worry about this game. Let's get him in the next game. Yacobonis did a great job, 3 scoreless innings, So you can't fault what the idea was. But I think as a starting pitcher, man, you want to be able to say, hey, I can save this. I can save us, from this. I don't want to use the bullpen up. Knowing that there's a doubleheader involved as well. That's a tough one, because it's not a 7-inning doubleheader, where it's that somebody's gonna have to go long. That's a scary thing for a guy like Yacobonis. That happened to me several times. Oh, go ahead, go long. I go 3, 4, 5 innings in relief, and then it's like, all right, we need another pitcher, so go back to AAA. So it's not a fun situation for everyone involved. And he looked a little confused by the questioning, and like, he wanted to be pissed about it, but he realized, man, it's been 2 years and I'm getting a chance to pitch only because these guys are all hurt. I can't really say how I feel, so I'm just going to go along with, it looks like I might start on Sunday. I'm ready to do whatever the team needs me to do. So it was a little shocking that with only 40 some odd pitches to get pulled.
And his time could be limited. Carlos Carrasco is going to be back next week, much to, Mets fans say, no, we're better off without him. It's going to be interesting, Figgy. Do they go with an all-righty rotation, keeping McGill in there? McGill doesn't deserve to be knocked out. Lucchesi, you can argue, does. This is a big start if he does pitch Sunday, because it could be his last. If he pitches poorly Sunday, he's definitely gone. The question is, do they go all 5 righties? Like that, what do you think there? Like, do you go, Verlander, Scherzer, Senga, Carrasco, McGill, or does McGill go to the bullpen maybe? Because McGill can't go to the minors. I don't think that would be the right move. The issue is, do you turn him into a reliever and he's a bridge guy, or do you keep Lucchesi in there so you have a lefty? Is that a big deal in today's baseball? Do they need that one lefty in the rotation?
No, it doesn't matter so much anymore. It's not, I don't know. I think nowadays you just look at if a guy can get both lefties and righties out, right? That's usually why he's a starter anyway, because he can do both. You can't be so one-sided in your splits. So I don't know if that's really a major cause for concern. I think more so than anything, you're looking at Lucchesi and the way he's pitching. He pitched well enough to continue going back out there. This Mets starting staff in general has been a huge disappointment. There's no way to sugarcoat it. There's no way to talk about it in any other terms than, you're looking at guys who shouldn't really be up here at this time, or you're counting on to carry the load. But now when you get some of those pieces back, you hope that they're healthy. With Carrasco's elbow, that was a huge source of concern. A year or 2 ago, he had a nice comeback last year where he pitched well in spots and got better as the year went on. But you're looking at these guys and you're trying to figure out exactly what's going to become of this starting staff. Bottom line is they need to be better. They need to be counted on in a way that means that they're going to go deeper into games. They're going to hand over the ball with leads. It's been too much of that first inning where, bam, you're down 3. That is such a hard thing to continue to, punch back off the mat every single game. It's like you can hear you can hear all the guys in the lineup as soon as, the home run is hit against them. All right, here we go again. Let's find a way to do it. Let's find a way to get up off the mat and get ourselves back to where we need to be. So, I don't know. I think, as long as he's pitching well, he's going to be a part of this. They'll even if they have to go to a 6-man rotation, because remember, Senga was part of a 6-man rotation in Japan. And if that's going to give all these guys extra day, 2 older guys in the front and, be able to space it out a little bit better, it might be the best thing for them. So they might have to go to something like a 6-man rotation, and they have the bodies to do it. I need the quality of pitcher to continue to do it.
Although Scherzer doesn't seem to like to have more than extra days off after giving the 10-day layover and using that as part of an excuse, which, listen, it's a long layover. I get it. But, he's got to be careful here, and he's going to have to find a way to grip the balls without using illegal substance. He didn't, we don't think he did, but he's got to just be better. He's got to use what he has available, the sweat, the rosin, whatever. The sweat and rosin t-shirts are already out there everywhere being sold. I mean, it's unbelievable, but he has to be better. And Brandin Nimmo might not steal a base all year now. I think he's going to be shook from this moment.
It was
but
so
steal
crazy.
in the right spot. Like I was like, and I'm the king of steal a base, bunt the baseball. Like I'm Mr. Small Ball. Pause. I'm just like, I want them to do those kind of things, but that's not the time. Like, it pissed me off.
Listen, when we went to Citi Field and I was sitting at the press conference, Buck was talking about that, how Brandin Nimmo had already, matched how many stolen bases he had all of last year, and was that something they were conscious of? And they said they had talked about it in spring training, and they were trying to get him to be more aggressive on the base pass and take those chances and take those risks. But the idea of doing that is usually early in the game when you still have Lindor coming up and Alonso coming up behind you, an RBI situation now. It's always an RBI situation when Alonso comes up because a home run is an RBI. But when you are able to take you take your team out of the ball game, it's a 2-run lead, not a 1-run lead.
If it was
2-run
one,
lead.
You could live with it.
Right.
But 2?
It didn't make sense on any front. Nimo had such a tremendous series out in the West Coast with the 5-for-5 game, and was kind of on a high coming back home, and then it started to peter a little bit, and he's not getting the same amount of hits, and the at bats are looking a little lackluster. Now you're starting to see that's the wear and tear of playing every day, right? That's the wear and tear of being counted on every day to that level of concentration and performance. It's not easy to sustain. So you saw him, I mean, it wasn't the same at bats. You see some weak fly balls the other way, taking call strike threes. You know how much I hate that about Brandin Nimmo, where he thinks his eye is better than the umpires. You're never going to win that battle. So you're starting to see, why baseball and why baseball batting averages are right around 250. There's a reason for it. And it doesn't mean that the guy's a bad hitter. It's just with, the better defense, more information that they have, even though it's not real shifts, but still shifting, moving guys up the middle and moving the third baseman over in the hole. Those things are still working. And we're not seeing the 300, the return of the 300 hitter like we thought we would when they first made all these different changes to the rules. So I don't know. I think getting consistency and better baseball IQ all the way around is something that is definitely a discussion in Buck Showalter's clubhouse this week.
Be smarter, be better, move the ball over, and just win ball games. Go sweep the Rockies. We'll close out this episode of Amazin But True next. All right, Figgy. Good night to episode 141 of Amazin But True, our Mets podcast from the New York Post.
Thanks to you, Jake, and of course to Andrew Hartz, as always, for producing the show. Give us a like, follow, comment. There's so many things you can do with us. Please interact more. We would love to have you guys be more of a part of our show. You at Figgy NY, at Jake Brown Radio, at Amazin But True. Check out our YouTube page to see all the videos and the behind the scenes stuff that you don't get to see or listen to on the audio clips. On YouTube, subscribe to our channel. The podcast is, again, this is a labor of love. We love bringing it to you. And one of the things I think is we've been very fortunate to be able to voice our opinion. No one has ever told us, hey, back down or don't tell you how you feel. And I'm very appreciative for that. And Jake Brown has set the standard. I wait for his rants whenever I see a game like this. So thank you guys for supporting us and continue to do so.
Some loser tweeted me the other day, and I don't block often, but I ended up blocking him about like you were paid by the team to be nicer because I was saying I'm positive or something. Like, what? Yeah. I'm literally just a fan. Like, if you've heard the show before, I've ranted many times and called this team out. So I'm not on payroll here at the New York Post. I'm not in the Mets payroll. God, I wish I was, because I wouldn't be living in a 2-bedroom apartment in Astoria. I'd be living at the Taj Mahal.
Taj Mahal doesn't exist anymore, dude.
Whatever. I'd be living somewhere nicer with no roommates. Hey, is gone till mid-June, so I'm here by myself for a nice 6 weeks. So I'm living basically in a 1-bedroom, which has been cozy, Figgy.
But I remember my first days of SNY where I was called a shill, and I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Gary, what does that mean? And Gary tells me, and I start laughing, and I went back at the guy on Twitter. And I think I posted a picture of the infamous South Park, the guy that is in his basement, typing on his keyboard and pushes up his glasses. I sent that to the guy, and I'm like, dude, seriously? I go, I don't ever, and I've never been told what to say, how to say it, when to say it. It's always been a wow, more so than anything. Like, you're allowed to say these things? Yeah, you know what? If you can back it up with facts, then your opinion is very valid. But to go out there, speaking of that, did you see Craig Carton
What
about
did he say?
Scherzer?
What did
Oh,
he
he's a
say?
cheater. That's why he performed terribly yesterday, because he's a cheater. Really? That's what we're doing? That's
Yeah.
what we're hanging our hat on?
Carton likes to stir the pot.
I
I
know,
like
but
Carton, so
but
I don't,
no, I
whatever.
love
He'll
those
say
guys. Don't
whatever.
get me wrong. No, I
Yeah.
love those guys. I love those guys. Listen, I tune in, but at the same time, it's like, really, you're gonna push that button? And I think it's more so that
He's not the only one, though. A lot of people on Twitter and just a lot of fans in general, like, he's cheating, like, blah, blah, blah. So he's not the only one.
Garrett Cole had to endure it as the ace of the Yankees, and he came out with flying colors on the other side of it right now. You're looking at him having a very, very good season, and is one of the reasons the Yankees aren't further back than they are. So Scherzer's he's gonna have to wear it. He's gonna have to wear it. You got to go out there and prove everybody else wrong and get back to being your normal self. But it's hard to see things like, oh, what, he was found dirty, and now that's who he is. That's not who he is.
People got to remember, too, with these podcasts, it's entertainment. I'm not Walter Cronkite. This isn't a news delivery. I had a Devils fan tweeting me. We had our Up in the Blue Seat season finale the other day about this guy, Jake Brown. I had to turn it off. He said Schmid was mid. Look at his numbers versus Igor. He played 14 games. Igor played 58. You dumb loser. Yeah. Like people are like, and you hated on New Jersey. It's a podcast. It's for entertainment. Of course, I'm going to hate on New Jersey. We know New York is
that was off the rip. Off the rip, you were hating on New Jersey. It didn't even matter.
Yeah, like, it's a joke. Like, God, New Jersey's got some nice things. I just don't want to live there. Like, you live in Jersey, you like it, it's fine. It's fine. But, like, God, it's a podcast. Don't take it so serious. People just gotta relax sometimes. All right, let's close with this. You announced Pix 11. Give us all the details of the new show. Now that it is public, you're allowed to say without pulling a Carlos Beltran. Give us the details of your new Pix 11 show and when it'll begin.
Details.
Because you do have, if you're watching a video in the background, you are at Pix 11. If you see the cool picture, the Pix 11 in the your right corner above your head this way. So give us the details. Yeah.
We are going to be a nightly show. It's called Sport Nation Nightly. Myself and Mark Malusis. Go back to our SNY days. We're going to be together bringing you 30 minutes of sports news, our takes, opinions again. And bringing things to you from a little bit more of a New Yorker perspective. And we've had some rehearsals. Today's another rehearsal. That's why I'm here so early. It'll be 7:00 weekdays. Tune in, and I'm excited, very excited to be back on television, and very grateful to the people at Pix for giving me the opportunity.
And the first show is when? Is Monday,
May 15th.
Monday, May 15th, 7 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Pix 11. And will there be guests? I know it's quick because there's 8 minutes of commercials. It's really like a 22-minute on-air show.
Yeah, no, we're definitely going to be able to have guests. One of the blocks will be nothing but a guest, and if it's a good guest and there's a great topic, we'll make it the last 2 blocks. That's the way. The fluidity in the show is great. The creative freedom that we have to do basically whatever and however we want to do it is fantastic. So working with a great team here and great support group that we're going to try and put together a very fun and entertaining show. And Mark Malusis has been doing it for a long, long time in a lot of different places. And he's been here with the Sports Nation group already, and will be, taking the lead with me as I get my feet back on the ground here and get more and more comfortable being back in front of the TV cameras.
Figgy and Moose and Figgy on Pix 11 coming up next after your local news. So you learn about the weather from Al Roker, and then you go to Figgy and Moose.
Al Roker?
I don't know the other weather person. Violetta Yaz,
Mr.
my girl
G
at NBC, Mr. G. That was actually my one of my brother's middle school teachers. Mr. G. He was like very, very interesting. Anyways, that wraps up this episode. Amazing but true. Looking forward to seeing that. Hopefully you don't start drinking with your pinky out once you're back on TV. You could get bougie, little margarita with the pinky out, and looking forward to that. For Nelson Figueroa, Andrew Hartz, I'm Jake Brown. We'll be back Monday morning after the Mets sweep the Rockies. Please, if they get swept, oh my, I don't know. I'm gonna need some more tea for rant part 2 if they find a way to get swept by the Rockies. Honestly, if they get swept by the Rockies, I hate to say this, there could be Buck Showalter on the hot seat. I don't think that should be the case.
I think Buck Showalter more on the hot seat than Aaron
at least
Boone?
the fans are going to think he's fired. Well, of course, Aaron Boone too, but Yankees do things a little different.
Hey, times are tough in New York right now. 2 biggest payrolls, and they got to do something to show for it.
You can't have back-to-back series losses to last place teams, especially coming back to Citi Field. So we'll see you, Citi Field. I'm happy to be back this weekend after missing the whole last homestand. Bringing Mama Brown to the ballpark on Saturday with Pop Brown. It should be fun. We will talk to you first thing Monday morning. New episode drops. And Figgy, after a sweep, do we close it like we usually do? I guess we need to wrap the troops, so we gotta. So let's go Mets.
That's what you just did? You didn't even 1, 2, 3 it?
3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Let's go Mets.